In 1983, a new, almost entirely electronic sound dominated the charts as Annie Lennox and David Stewart's Eurythmics broke into mainstream success with their experimental and now iconic hit, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. With a never-ending hook and their experiments with the emerging availability of home recording equipment, they proved that it didn't have to take a lot of money or complication to make an unforgettable hit record.
Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I?
Hello there, it's Warren Hewitt here. I hope you're doing marvellously well. Welcome back to another episode of the series. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when we have a new video. And if you're into production, you can go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list, and get a whole bunch of free goodies. The Eurythmics formed in 1980 at a hotel in Wagga Wagga, Australia, after the collapse of Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart's band, The Tourists. The Tourists had experienced some chart success with two top 10 UK hits, a cover of Dusty Springfield's I Only Want to Be With You in 1979 and So Good to Be Back Home With You in 1980. But personal and creative frustrations within the band left them broken in the midst of a tour of Australia. In the wake of the Tourists' collapse, Lennox and Stewart began playing around with an EDP Wasp synthesizer in their hotel room. Stewart explained, "I could actually get some interesting things happening. You know, like sequenced little sort of random hold patterns that sounded very exciting to us. Even though it was just coming out of the plastic speaker in a crappy hotel room in Wagga Wagga. We weren't even writing songs. I was just messing about on it. But that messing about was enough. Exhausted from the breakup of their band and their own personal tensions, but still excited about the potential of music making together, the pair realized that they could join forces as a duo creatively while ending their romantic partnership. On the flight home, Lennox suggested that they stop living together. Stewart later recalled, "I remember our conversation. It wasn't even a long one, because we were so exhausted. She goes, you know what? We should probably try living separately for a second or whatever. And we both went, God, yeah, we should. And then we fell asleep. We went back to our flat and then Annie moved upstairs, just literally one room above. So we still saw each other all the time." The early months of their new collaboration was a time of fruitful experimentation. Stewart spent a lot of time exploring pairings of the Wasp with the EDP proto sequences, the Spider and the TIAC 144 Porter Studio. Their first album, In the Garden, was released by RCA in October of 1981 and showcased some of these new experimental sounds. Two more singles led the duo's movement towards an almost fully electronic sound. This Is the House and The Walk, both released in 1982. Both songs would appear on their 1983 album, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. But it was the title track from the album that truly propelled the Eurythmics into the spotlight and continues to live on as a staple of dance club music. Sweet Dreams is a remarkable track for many reasons, not the least of which is the structure. It is basically one big repeating chorus with two other smaller interludes, and we can call them a pre-chorus and a bridge. There are no complex verses to bring out the lyrical meaning and contrast the hookiness of the chorus. The entire song is a complete hook, and the chorus itself is interesting for its dark, deceptive meaning. We hear supposedly positive lines like Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, juxtaposed against a minor mode, a haunting musical setting. It appears then that these initial lyrics are not what they seem, and instead offer a delusioned view of the world.
Some of them want to use you.
The juxtaposition actually mirrors the song's composition, in which Lennox was struggling with depression, while Stewart was energized by the discoveries he was making on new equipment they had just received. Stewart recalled, "She was curled up on the floor in the fetal position when I managed to produce this beat and riff. She suddenly went, 'What the hell is that?' and leapt up and started playing the other synthesizer. Between the two dueling synths, we had the beginnings of Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. The sound which has inspired Lennox was that of an MK1 Movement Systems MCS percussion computer, which the pair had purchased second-hand. Stewart turned a tom-tom sound down low to sound like a huge bass drum, which he liked for its thud quality without having too much of a boomy effect. It was purely an accidental discovery. But when Lennox heard the sounds that Stewart was creating with it, alongside the synthesizer riff that he was still working out, she jumped onto the Oberheim OBX and began adding a string sound. The drum computer was triggering a sequence into the Roland SH-101 that sounded powerful, and the Oberheim was more of a soft string sound that we managed to cut off so it made it more attacking. I think it was actually a preset. I don't think we made the sound. The Roland is playing the original sequence and then Annie was playing in between it. Sweet Dreams always confuses keyboard players when they try and play it, because they don't realize it's actually two keyboard parts that are playing completely different things. The lyrics came quickly, and while they are repetitive, are also quite powerful. In addition to the song's disillusioned chorus, the pre-chorus highlights the darker undertones of human motivations. Some of them want to use you, some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to abuse you, some of them want to be abused. Lennox explained, "The song Sweet Dreams is a personal statement about people's motivations, in their loves, their own dreams. I replaced the word motivations with the word dreams. I'm saying that these motivations as human beings, and there's no way, whether I disagree, that I want to change anything about that. And everywhere I look, I travel the world and the seven seas. All I see is that every person on the earth is looking for that kind of fulfillment. So you have the extremes from people who want to use and be used, the whole spectrum." The bridge section contrasts the darkness of these other two pieces by offering some words of encouragement. Hold your head up, keep your head up, moving on. Stewart explains that while the song captured so much of what Lennox was feeling at the time, they added in the bridge section to bring some positivity to the song. The repetitive upward motion of the chord progression emphasizes this resilient attitude. The recording of Sweet Dreams began with their home equipment and an 8-track tape machine in a studio space above a picture framing shop in London's Chalk Farm. But in the midst of production, they lost the use of the space and had to transfer to another non-traditional recording venue. Although it would later become the church studios where Lennox and Stewart were working on Sweet Dreams, it was a small room in a church in Crouch End, owned and used by animators Bob Burer and John Hardwick. The pair are known especially for their work on Captain Pugwash and Trumpton. Anybody remember those shows? Stewart explained their good fortune. They'd actually bought that church because they needed a big space so they could make big, wide shots. The floor had to be very sort of solid to use all the tracking things they were using. I went back to Annie and I said, "Well, you're not going to believe this, but I think I've got a place where we can finish recording." It was pretty hard to believe because they didn't even want to charge us any rent, but they actually enjoyed us being there and making music. The pair crammed it into a little room with the equipment they had purchased with a £5,000 loan, a Soundcraft desk, a Tascam 8-track, the MCS, and a collection of synthesizers. Stewart recalled only having one Beyer pencil microphone, intended for use on hi-hats, which they employed for recording Annie's vocals. The entire project was one of experimentation and creativity. They even played milk bottles on the track, using trial and error to figure out the right pitches and how to get the exact percussive sound they wanted. The song was released on January the 21st, 1983, as the fourth and final release from their album of the same name, which they had released a few weeks earlier. Stewart has explained that the label really didn't quite understand the song. To us, it was a major breakthrough, but I remember later some quite famous publishers coming to hear it and they didn't get it at all. They just kept saying, I don't understand this song. It doesn't have a chorus. But the thing is, it just goes from beginning to end, and the whole song is a chorus. There is not one note that is not a hook. So while the label was hesitant to release it, once audiences picked up on it, it proved to be not only a massive hit of its own time, but an iconic song, filling dance halls for decades to come. In its initial release, it hit the top 10 throughout Europe and North America, including the #1 spot in the US, Canada, and France. It hit #2 in the UK, blocked from the very top spot by Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart. To this day, it remains a staple of dance halls and even radio play, an iconic track which seems to continually capture the attention of new generations of listeners. The song also inspired the use of home studio recording, as other aspiring musicians learned just what was possible with the new technology that was becoming increasingly available to them. So I remember this song so well, like so many people hearing it for the first time. To say it jumped out of the speakers is a complete understatement. I feel like in the early 80s, when I was a little kid, things like Gary Newman's Cars, which we will definitely do, and these songs sounded like robot music. Does that make sense? It just sounded like something completely unheard of. You hadn't heard anything like this. And then you saw Annie Lennox and you were just like, wow. She just looked like this, like something out of a science fiction movie. Just like that incredible like hair and just like her look, the way she dressed, that kind of androgynous kind of look was incredible. Plus it reminded you of Bowie. It was just amazing. Everything about this song, everything about the band, the sound, the production. I mean, not to mention you find out then they recorded it all on their own on home equipment. It's special. It is completely unique. I don't know if there's another song of that period that really stands up like this. Don't get me wrong, there's tons of great hits in 1983 that we can talk about, and we probably will. But this one is supremely unique. The vocal is incredible, it's haunting. The way the synth line just, like I said, sounds otherworldly. The drum sounds otherworldly. Nothing sounded like this song when it came out. So it's not a surprise that it was a #1 hit all over the bleeding place, because it just came on and you just didn't know what this music was. And then when you saw them and you saw Annie, absolutely incredible, absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the most important songs ever recorded. And look, Marilyn Manson goes and covers it and basically starts a huge career based off of this song. And the fact that you can twist it, you can take it from this very cold, almost robotic, sweet dreams are made of this thing, and then put it into a guy that is doing, a gothic industrial thing. I mean, that's the thing about this song. You could twist it anywhere. You could disco it up. You can make it even darker, and it's already dark. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of Dave Stewart's incredible production, Annie's incredible vocals. Everything about this song is wonderful. All right. Please leave any comments and questions below. Of course, we want to know what other songs you'd like for us to feature. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, adio, tschüss, goodbye, sayonara.